It's the first Monday of 2025, which means there's lots to do. First thing I need to do is go to camera store to get a bunch of gear that will help Flagrant be better, more efficient. So right now I'm leaving Brooklyn, headed to B&H first, then we've got some meetings, then I have to set everything up. And then we film tomorrow, first one of the year. Really quick, if you are new here, which most of you probably are, my name is Miles. I'm in my 30s, which is crazy to say. I'm a podcast producer living in New York City, also crazy to say, and I enjoy documenting the things I do. So, on today's vlog, you're going to be joining me as I do some much needed upgrades to the Flagrant podcast studio. If this sounds cool to you, stick around, watch me walk through the snow. We're in Midtown now, headed to B&H, and it's snowing, which is awful, but also it's a little charming. I'm just a boy from Florida who's still charmed by this kind of shit. Look at that. Isn't that fun? But yeah, a lot of big stuff coming up this year. And this is the first micro step to a lot of the cool stuff I'll be changing on the production side of things. Really excited for this year. It's time to go to B&H. So for anyone who doesn't know what B&H is, it's a camera store in Midtown Manhattan. It's sort of like that Toys R Us that used to be in Times Square with the Ferris wheel, but more for like adults who are into audio and video equipment. It's really awesome, it's really bright, sort of loud and overwhelming. Everything you could ever imagine in that world is in that store. And all of your orders are handled by little boxes that run over your head on these tracks like trains. I'm a huge fan of the place. I'm not actually picking up too much and I already ordered online, so it should be pretty quick.
I'm waiting for a cab, but not a ton of cabs over here right now. Oh, I see one, baby.
I'm going to try to explain what I'm doing the best as possible without getting too in the weeds about the technicality of cameras. What you need to know is that Flagrant was filmed admirably and reliably on BlackMagic cameras for the last 5 years. And while I love those cameras, they're a little old and need to get replaced. So the good news is that we're upgrading. We're upgrading to new, modern Sony cameras, which is awesome. But these new modern cameras need some new accessories to make them basically work. And that's what I just picked up. A lot of little things that will adapt to our current working system. So here's a list of what I purchased. Power strips, HDMI cable, dummy batteries, so the cameras are plugged in, USB-C cables to run the converters. The converters will switch the HDMI to SDI, and then power bricks to power these, which power those, and tape, which holds the world together. Okay, so every tripod will get a converter. The converter will have power. The camera will have a dummy battery that we'll be able to plug into it, so it has power. And every converter will have an HDMI cable coming out of it that will plug into the camera. Flagrant used to be filmed on these. Now we are filming on these FX3s. They're much smaller and better. It's not really a lot of work to plug a few things into other things and then secure them to some tripods, but there is a fair amount of brain power that it takes to figure some parts of it out. Flagrant runs 6 cameras at once for every podcast, and every camera needs to run cables across the room somewhat neatly and back to my desk to our recorder. Each of the 6 cameras need power, and now their converters also need power, which is even more cables. Plus, all the cords and stuff that were used for the old cameras need to be pulled out and replaced. So here's a quick montage of me doing all of that. Oh yeah, I took this opportunity to vacuum also. Okay, let's see what we got here. Nice. Okay, so this is working, which is cool. Let's see if the HDMI to SDI converter, everything's correctly running all the way over to my messy desk, which, hey, if you're a fan of these vlogs and want to see me upgrade something next in this studio, my awful messy desk is definitely next. Here we go. So let's see if they show here. Okay, I'm gonna hit these 2 buttons and you should see the middle camera up here. Nice, dude. That means the HDMI cables work. That means the converters work. That means everything's plugged in correctly back to the switcher. And you also see it down there on the recorder. So everything's working. Hi, I'm editing this vlog and it's really boring. The vlog is boring because I'm just telling you that something is done and you're not really understanding why it was done. And I was trying to figure out a way to explain that. I was like, oh, well, you know, the new cameras have autofocus. Oh, the new cameras are better. I can just show you. I literally can just show you. I just set up 2 cameras. We have the regular camera and then our old camera. And I set them up and they're both pointed at Schultz's chair. And I'm gonna go sit over there and in real time just show you the differences between this and that. And we'll turn the lights down. We'll do the whole thing. I'm gonna do it right now. Just bear with me. Hi everyone. Reason number 1 is autofocus. Right now I should be in focus on the Sony and I should be on focus on the BlackMagic. But if I lean really far forward, like Schultz sometimes does when he's talking, doing an ad read, or leaning back or moving around, you'll notice that the Sony is in focus. And if I sit forward like this and I lean really far forward, I'm still in focus on the Sony, but the BlackMagic shouldn't be in focus right now. So that's the main reason, and that's one of the big things that we really wanted to work on and fix. Another thing the Sonys will do a lot better in is low light conditions. So right now I'm in the studio and there's a ton of lights on. I'm actually going to turn the lights really low. You're going to see the degradation of the picture. Blackmagic needed a lot of light. Sonys are basically cameras that can see in the dark. They're night vision. So I'm going to go turn the lights down low. 1 second. The lights are now set to a lower setting. There's no light directly onto my face. Everything in the room is like a dark, low setting. So you're not like blinded, you're not getting headaches. The cameras haven't changed, so it probably looks really dark, but I'm gonna go over there, I'm gonna make the cameras more light sensitive. And what you're gonna see is that while they both can be more light sensitive, the picture on the Sony has a lot less grain and is a lot more usable in lower light settings. So 1 second. Okay, I've raised both of their ISOs, which if you don't know cameras, just basically made them more light sensitive. I haven't touched aperture, I haven't touched frame rate. This is just strictly ISO at the moment. And what you'll notice is I imagine the Blackmagic, I can't see that one right now, but I imagine the Blackmagic is really grainy. There's probably a lot of grain around me and it's unusable. And what you'll see on the Sony is that it's much more usable. Okay, now I didn't change it. There's no more light to get into the Blackmagic. It's at its brightest setting, or it's at its most light sensitive setting. So there's no more. If you look over at the Sony, which I haven't changed the color temperature. It's going to get weird and red, but you'll notice it almost looks like it's back to the original setting of brightness behind me. I've changed nothing in the room from the last time you've seen this. The lights are the exact same. The camera's just getting more sensitive. I've raised the ISO even more. I lowered the aperture and let a lot of light in. Last thing I'm going to do is actually show you that this isn't a usable shot, but if I change the white balance, you'll notice it's actually possibly usable. Okay, would I say that you can use this? No, I wouldn't film like this. I think it's a bad look. But it is crazy that with a little bit of tweaking, the Sony still works. I'm even going to go darker just to prove that these cameras basically see in the dark. And that's one of the biggest benefits for us, is that there's just a lot more fidelity in lighting conditions that aren't perfect. And sometimes it might not be perfect. There may have been an episode where you have someone on who wears a hat and it creates a lot of shadow right here on their face. And with the old cameras, you would lose a lot of the details under their brim of their hat. And with these new cameras, you'll have just more dynamic range with shadows, with dark clothing versus light clothing. If someone is moving around and they're laughing and their hand is in front of their face and they create a shadow, the new cameras at least will capture more of this. Okay, so I'm gonna turn all the lights off in the studio and see if it's usable footage, which will be really interesting. Lights are off in the room. TV screen over here on, there's a TV screen in front of me that is showing me my picture, but crazy enough, it's dark in this room and you can still see me and there's still autofocus. It's probably not a great picture. There's probably a lot of grain. It's probably very soft. I would never shoot like this, but it is insane that you can shoot this way. It's insane that you could do a whole podcast in the dark and it be fine. Oh, one of the TVs just turned off. Even better, even less light. You can still sort of see me. I imagine the Blackmagic is catching none of this. Maybe it's seeing my phone. If I put the phone on my face, maybe the Blackmagic is seeing me, but I know the Sony is, which is cool. This is an extreme example, but it just goes to show that there is a lot more dynamic range and low light sensitivity on the Sonys rather than the Blackmagic. I'm going to turn the lights back on to like the regular setting, put the cameras back to the regular settings to talk about one more benefit of switching to the Sonys. The last thing to sort of add on upon that is that right now, if I were talking and you needed to zoom in to create a clip of me, a social clip, you'll notice that the zooming in on the Sony is a lot clearer. The new cameras are going to create like a more crisp and usable image, which is great for social clips, for reframing. Just to repeat again, I might be out of focus on the Blackmagic right now, and I am in focus on the Sony, and that's awesome. And that's reason number one. Reason number two is that in low light or variable light, or if there's a shadow on my face, there's just more data and low light capabilities with the Sony. Benefit number three of the Sonys is that the image is just clearer and crisper and more usable for multiple things. I hope this is a better example of the reason why I bought all of the items, set them up, and now Brilliant and Flagrant have their own set of converters and dummy batteries and power so that these cameras, which are amazing, can just move between the studios when they need to be. Yeah, so I hope this helps. I hope this is a much better example, and I hope this makes the vlog less boring. We'll see. Let me know in the comments down below. Oh my God, Miles, is this an ad break? No, it's not an ad break. I don't have enough viewers for ads yet, but I do have a friend who makes this really awesome product called Dry Brew. It sounds crazy, but it's waterless coffee. I hate the taste of black coffee. I love the taste of this. 65 milligrams of caffeine. Go to drybrew.com. Yeah, I hope that comparison was cool. Like, I hope it makes a lot of sense why we chose to do that. The autofocus, low light, and all the other things I was saying. So yeah, that's the first vlog of 2025 and also the first week of 2025 at Flagrant. Thanks for tuning in. There's a lot more to come. I know we're not doing resolutions this year, or I guess, I don't know if we are. I'm not doing resolutions this year because I talked to my therapist about it and they really stress me out come the end of the year, and I don't think they're healthy for my little brain. So one thing that I really like are like mottos and sort of things to measure against when you're like making decisions, so sort of like a decision-making matrix. Or there's this really funny thing going on the internet right now called ins and outs. And I think ins and outs are really fun. Ins would be things that you want to do more of and that are healthy. And outs would be things that you're done with. So like outs would be like bad friendships or binge drinking or something along those lines. I don't know what they would be. So for Flagrant, 2025 ins are new cameras, funnier clips, better thumbnails is something I can control for ins. What are some outs? Hopefully I'm a little better this year than I was last year, so we're a little bit more efficient, a little bit faster. But yeah, it's been an awesome week. Thanks for coming along and watching me set everything up. Like I said, more to come, cool videos, more camera stuff, more reviews, more gear stuff. Also just more fun stuff around the studio. So thanks, bye.
Let's go! I'm ready. Let's go! Y'all ain't shit. Suck my dick, y'all ain't shit. Poor motherfuckers don't know nothing about ice cream. Broke ass motherfuckers.